I always thought the night before your wedding was supposed to feel magical. Champagne, laughter, and a calm kind of certainty. Mine felt like a storm that forgot how to end. It started with a knock on my hotel room door. Not loud, not rushed, just 3 soft taps. When I opened it, there was no one there. Only an envelope. Cream-colored, handwritten, my name in ink I knew too well. Jennifer. Ryan Blake's handwriting. I should have dropped it right then, thrown it in the trash, or maybe burned it. But instead, I stood there in my silk robe, barefoot on the cold carpet, staring at it like it might open itself. Michael was downstairs, rehearsing his vows with his best man, the man I was supposed to marry tomorrow. And here I was, holding a ghost from my past. I didn't mean to open it, but I did, and that's where everything started to unravel. Before I tell you what was inside, I just want to say, if you've ever been caught between who you were and who you're trying to become, you'll understand. And hey, before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing the cities and countries these stories reach, because what happened next changed the way I understand love forever. The first line of the letter said, "If you're reading this, it means I never stopped loving you." I read that first line over and over again, like somehow the ink would smudge into a different truth if I stared hard enough. If you're reading this, it means I never stopped loving you. My pulse thudded in my ears. The hotel's air conditioner hummed too loud. Outside, Manhattan's skyline blinked through the sheer curtains, alive and indifferent. I hadn't seen Ryan in almost 3 years. 3 years since he'd walked away without a word, leaving me to rebuild from the rubble of almosts and maybes. I sank onto the edge of the bed, letter trembling in my hands. His handwriting filled the page, slanted, emotional, messy like the man himself. I know it's selfish, Jen, but I need you to know the truth before you say, "I do." The words hit like a bruise I didn't know was still there. "Jennifer?" Michael's voice came through the door, warm, steady. Everything Ryan never was. "You okay in there?" I shoved the letter under a magazine. "Yeah." My voice cracked. "Just tired." He opened the door slightly smiling, the way he always did when he thought I was overthinking. "Get some sleep, okay? Tomorrow's our forever." Our forever. After he left, I pulled the letter back out. My heart ached with guilt, curiosity, and something far worse, memory. Ryan had always known how to make chaos feel like poetry, and tonight he had found a way back in. The next paragraph started with 5 words that made my hands go cold. "I never meant to leave." That line tore open something I'd spent years trying to bury. Ryan hadn't just left me. He vanished. No calls, no closure. Just silence so loud it became a part of me. I forced myself to keep reading, even though part of me already knew I shouldn't. There were things I couldn't tell you back then, things that would have put you in danger. You wouldn't have believed me if I tried. Danger? I frowned. Ryan was a journalist, idealistic, reckless, the kind of man who believed truth was worth bleeding for. But what kind of danger could he mean? "If you're marrying Michael Reynolds, then you deserve to know who he really is." I froze. My fingers tightened around the page until it crumbled. Michael? My Michael? The man who held me when I cried over Ryan's disappearance? The man who rebuilt my trust brick by brick? My mind spun. It had to be some twisted manipulation, Ryan's last attempt to keep a place in my heart. But still, I needed to know. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through old messages,
Old photos, every remnant of Ryan I hadn't deleted. Nothing explained this. Nothing could. Then I saw it. An unread email from Ryan, sent 3 days ago. Subject line, "Before you say yes." A soft knock startled me again. This time, it wasn't the delivery man. It was Michael. And behind him, someone else's shadow moved in the hallway.
"Hey," Michael said softly, stepping into the doorway. "You look pale. Are you okay?" The light from the hallway framed him, tall, calm, wearing that same reassuring smile he always had. But tonight, it felt rehearsed. "I'm fine," I lied, slipping the letter under a pillow. "Just tired." He leaned against the doorframe, watching me for a beat too long. "You've been quiet all evening. Nerves?" "Maybe." He chuckled. "You're allowed to be nervous. You're about to marry me, after all." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Something about his tone, the way he emphasized me, made my stomach tighten. He came closer, his cologne warm and familiar, the scent of cedar and confidence. He ordered champagne, he said. "Thought we could toast, just us." "Now? Why not? Last night before we become boring old marrieds." I watched him pour the glasses. His hand trembled slightly. Just for a second. It was subtle, but I noticed. I'd spent years learning his habits, memorizing his rhythms. He didn't tremble. He handed me a glass. I took it, but didn't drink. "Michael," I said quietly, "can I ask you something?" He met my eyes, his expression unreadable. "Of course." But before I could speak, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. A name flashed across the screen. Ryan Blake. Michael's hand darted faster than I'd ever seen, snatching the phone, killing the screen. My breath caught. He smiled again, but this time it didn't look like reassurance. It looked like warning. "Why is Ryan calling you?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. Michael froze, champagne glass mid-air. "What?" "Your phone just lit up," I said, my voice trembling. "Ryan Blake. Why would he be calling you?" He set the glass down carefully, like he was defusing a bomb. "You must have seen it wrong." I didn't. For a moment, silence stretched between us, thick and electric. The city lights flickered against the window, painting his face in fragments of gold and shadow. Then he sighed, slow and deliberate. "Jennifer, Ryan's not who you think he is." My heart skipped. "What does that mean?" He rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my gaze. "He reached out to me a while ago, said he needed to warn me about you, that you were unstable after the breakup, that I should think twice before proposing." My throat went dry. "That's not true." "He knows," he said quickly. "That's why I didn't tell you. I didn't want to hurt you." It almost sounded believable. Almost. But there was something rehearsed in his tone, like he'd practiced the line in the mirror. "Then why is he calling you now?" I asked. He hesitated, just long enough for the silence to become an answer. "Michael," I whispered, "what aren't you telling me?" He looked up, eyes dark and unfamiliar. "You don't want to know." My stomach twisted, because suddenly I wasn't sure I did. But I also knew I wouldn't sleep until I found out.
After Michael fell asleep, I lay awake beside him, his arm heavy around me, his breathing steady. It should have been comforting. It wasn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his phone lighting up with Ryan's name. At 1:14 a.m., I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him. The city below glowed faintly, a restless pulse against the rain-streaked glass. I grabbed Michael's phone from the nightstand, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it would wake him. The screen demanded a password. I hesitated, then tried his birthday. No luck. Then mine. Nothing. But then I remembered the date he proposed. I typed it in, unlocked. I scrolled through his messages. Most were normal. Vendors, his best man, his mom. Then I saw it. An email thread labeled R. Blake Confidential. My hands trembled as I opened it. Reynolds, I'm done protecting you. She deserves to know the truth. You crossed a line. There were attachments. My thumb hovered over the first one. It was a scanned document, a financial report under Michael's company name, a list of wire transfers, and one familiar name, Ryan Blake. The next file was worse. Photos. Ryan, bruised. Hospital bed. Dated 3 years ago. I kept your secret once, never again. Behind me, the bedsheets rustled. Couldn't sleep? Michael's voice was low, close. I turned, phone still glowing in my hand. His eyes caught the light, cold, knowing. You weren't supposed to see that, he said. And for the first time, I saw a stranger wearing the face of the man I was going to marry. Put the phone down, Jen. Michael's voice was calm, almost gentle, but his eyes told another story, the kind that doesn't need volume to terrify you. I didn't move. You lied to me, I whispered, about Ryan, about everything. He took a slow step closer. It's not what you think. I think you hurt him. His jaw clenched. That was never supposed to happen. The words sliced through the air, quiet and final. My throat tightened. So it's true? You paid him off? What did you do, Michael? He ran a hand through his hair, pacing, breathing hard. He was writing a story about one of my clients, illegal trading, insider leaks, stuff that could have destroyed my firm. I told him to back off. He didn't. Things got out of hand. I stared at him, barely breathing. Out of hand? He wouldn't listen, he said, his voice breaking. So yes, I sent people to warn him. I didn't know they'd... He stopped himself. They almost killed him, I said. He didn't deny it. Tears blurred the room. The man I was going to marry had orchestrated the very disappearance that had shattered me 3 years ago. You let me cry over him, I said softly. You held me, and you knew. Michael stepped closer, desperate now. I did it for us, for our future, for you. I shook my head. No, you did it for yourself. He reached out, but I stepped back, clutching the phone like a lifeline. You can't tell anyone, he said, voice trembling. You don't understand what's at stake. I understand perfectly. The storm outside cracked open the night, lightning spilling across the window, illuminating his face, pale and broken. And in that flash, I saw what love had become. Not safety, not truth, but a cage I had mistaken for a promise. I walked to the door, heart racing. It's over, Michael. He didn't follow. He didn't have to, because I already knew. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of the reckoning.
The rain had stopped by dawn. The city looked new again. Wet streets glimmering under a pale gray sky, like nothing had happened, like I hadn't just watched the life I built collapse in the space of one sleepless night. I sat by the window, still in my robe, Ryan's letter folded neatly beside the cold remains of champagne we never drank. The phone on the nightstand buzzed. Unknown member. I didn't answer. Outside, the church bells started ringing, the ones that were supposed to announce my wedding day. Funny how a sound meant for celebration can echo like mourning. I looked at my reflection in the glass, tired, puffy-eyed, but lighter somehow. I'd spent so long searching for love that felt certain, safe, permanent. But love isn't a contract. It's a choice. And sometimes choosing yourself is the bravest thing you can do. The letter caught my eye again. I picked it up, tracing Ryan's messy handwriting one last time. Some chapters aren't meant to be rewritten, only understood. I smiled. Barely. Maybe he was right. I opened the hotel window just enough for the wind to slip through, carrying the scent of wet asphalt and possibility. The letter fluttered once in my hand, then vanished into the city below. Some stories don't end with a kiss. Some end with silence and the sound of your own heartbeat reminding you you're still here. If you made it to the end, thank you. And maybe tell me, what would you have done? Because sometimes I still wonder if he ever meant to let me go.